Hey, everybody. I don't know if you're aware, but Dallas Cowboys did not play well over the weekend.
I mean, we covered this yesterday when you weren't here. I don't know. Yeah, we already thoroughly went
They
over
didn't play
this.
well over the weekend.
You know.
Whenever you're like, hey, everybody, it's just like,
Settle down just a little bit.
it's like, brace yourself, because this could go in any direction.
I caught you with that one,
I was
huh?
like, oh, where's he go?
Well, he told
They
us it
didn't
was
play well.
coming.
They
in
didn't
the
play
third
well at
hour,
all.
Chris, you know.
They beat the Steelers. I even popped them in my top 10 of the my power rankings.
I mean, it was the right thing to do at the time.
In hindsight, wish I didn't do it.
Well, that's not what the power ranking is, Rich.
I know
It's not in
it's
hindsight,
all
it's
about a
the
snapshot.
actual
Correct.
right now.
Will they be out this week?
Those are his rankings.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be out this week.
Okay.
I don't usually like to preview, but they're out of my top 10.
Are the Mets in?
Oh, yeah, you should put the Mets
Can
in.
the
Nice.
Mets be in? Because I think we should be.
You keep on reminding me of baseball when we're talking about the Dallas
I
Cowboys.
don't
It's
care
kind of
about football
strange.
right now because my team stinks.
Well, they're very mediocre. That's what 3 and 3
Very
is.
mediocre.
And we talked about it, Jim. We talked about it all off season. I told you when I came back from the combine, one of the craziest rumors that I heard, and it was true, was Jerry Jones's definition of all in is not what you think it is. He's just going to go all in with the guys on the team, and supplementing it with big name free agents is not what his intention was going to do, and he didn't do it. And he basically made a couple of moves, the general manager of the Cowboys, a couple of moves of some players that might have gelled with these guys and maybe improved them. But in terms of big name guys, the aforementioned Derrick Henry didn't sign him. And they were just going to go into the season hoping that the kids that they have drafted in the past or drafted this year, even though they drafted a 6th round wide receiver, and that's it for the offensive side of the football in terms of skilled players. And we talked about it, that if they had injuries, it would cost them. That's all we talked about. And now that the Cowboys are 3 and 3,
Why are we surprised?
getting boat raced at home, apparently Jerry Jones doesn't talk about what happened in the offseason. When it was brought up to him on his radio program on 105.3 The Fan today, a rightful question of Jerry Jones about his off-season, non-playing season strategy, and being asked about whether he thinks about it or it's a legitimate question to say, do you think this is now coming home to roost?
Now, don't tell me about should gotten a guy in the off season.
Why not?
This isn't a damn word argument just because I'm not arguing with you. I'm dealing with how we line up against San Francisco, not what I did wrong last week or last month or 2 months ago or 2 years ago. If I really gave you guys a list of all the things I've done wrong over the last few years, you couldn't be on this program for the next 5 years steady and go over it. But every now and then you do some right things, and at the end of the day you add it up, and the rights give you a better spot than the wrongs. But if you think for any minute right now, there'll be one Super Bowl champion. What do the others do wrong? There's one Super Bowl champion. Now, we want to be that champion. And I'm sure not throwing the towel in today because of what happened out there Sunday. But I'm not going to sit here and waste a lot of energy, a lot of time. Let's talk about what I should have done back in 1907 or 2017. Shit, Ben. Come on. I've got more time than that, and I actually don't even have time on this great show for looking back at decisions.
Okay. So, Jerry, 1970, a little different from this past off season in building the team we're talking about today, which there was a lot of criticism that you guys didn't add, didn't spend, and don't add and don't spend, and are not aggressive enough with some of the problems that are still haunting the Cowboys today that we see play out on the field. That's the point of talking about the offseason.
I remember those criticisms very well. Okay, so what?
Or are they playing out to be accurate?
What's your point? What's your point?
My point is, it seems like
Listen, let me tell you what I'll do. Let me tell you what I'll do about it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not. And I really don't, and I don't even want our listeners to listen to me, to talk about this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
Wow.
105.3 The Fan. Shannon, RJ. By the way, they asked, I think, appropriate questions, to be very honest.
Yeah, I agree.
And it is their job to talk about what happened in the offseason and how their Cowboys are now 3-3 and how, Zeke and Rico Dowdle and that running game is not anywhere nearly the appropriate balanced attack necessary to succeed when Derrick Henry was sitting there working out in the Metroplex and said he didn't even get a call from the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys are like, he was too expensive. Now, what he's trying to say, Jerry Jones, is you can't throw all the good decisions out with the dishwater, and the good decisions are a ton of their draft choices, like Tank Lawrence and Micah Parsons are out, right? And it's not like there's a ton of good there, and I understand what he's saying, and you got to pay CD and you got to pay Dak and so on and so forth. I understand that, but if he wants to talk about the here and now and what we're going to do against the San Francisco 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys, coming off of that loss to Detroit, coming off the bye, and what are they going to do against San Francisco on Sunday Night Football in front of the whole country? That is a legitimate question when you'd think having Derrick Henry would be helpful. Just as for instance, certainly when you are getting boat raced at home, which is another reason why there is a considerable tension in the air for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, just take a look at the halftime scores over the last 4 home games. They've been outscored by a combined total of 110-35 from last year's wild card one and dunning that led to the all-in concept. And then their 3 home games against the Saints, Ravens, and Lions. This thing has been a wrap before halftime, and it must be a morgue in that monster stadium. And a feeling of inevitability and a feeling of complete football impotence that cannot feel good. And I understand why Jerry doesn't want to be asked it, because there is no answer for it. And that's what we were wondering during the entire non-playing season is what's this going to look like? Well, now we're seeing it. And they lost by 38 points, which is the largest Dallas Cowboys loss since 2010. 45-7 loss at Green Bay. Was that the one that wound up getting Wade Phillips fired finally in 2010? You want to look that one up?
Let's see.
Now that I'm just popping that one in my head.
True, actually, because Wade's the only guy Jerry's fired.
Yeah.
You want to look that one up?
Yeah.
It's the largest margin of defeat in a home game with Jerry Jones as the owner. Oof. The Cowboys, again, had a perfect 8-0 home record. They've trailed in 2023. They have trailed by at least 22 in each of their last 4 home games. Allowed 167 points total in each of their last 4 home games. That's the 3rd most points allowed by any team in a span of 4 home games in the history of the NFL. And they have a turnover margin of -9 in those games. It's ugly. Oof. They've trailed by at least 15 points at halftime of their last 4 home games, as we just pointed out. That ties the longest streak in the history of the NFL. So, yeah, Shan and RJ are going to say, where are the reinforcements coming from when you didn't give it to them in the offseason? It really is crazy. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.